In this episode of BEA Conversations, we are speaking to Kate Sibbett, and we are really talking about establishing trust, building trust where women can support women. Kate, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
So tell us a little bit why building trust is crucial amongst women if we want to achieve success together.
Well, I always say it takes a village to raise a village. And I think one of the things, women are so self-critical, right? They're their worst own critics. Everything they do, they think too much, they overanalyze everything, and they're always comparing. So, oh, she has the nice curly hair, or she has the nice straight hair, and I wish I had a bum like that. Do you know what I mean? And I think what I've come to experience is if you're together and you're supporting each other, that's a natural trust because you know how each other are thinking, right? So I think in business, it's tough anyway. A woman walks into a room and 9 out of 10, it's still very male dominated in a lot of the industries, and she's already got to prove something. So by having other women supporting her and giving that tap and saying, you did a job well done, I think goes a long way in building confidence and that trust within the industry. I think sometimes we're just trying to do too much, and we just honestly just need to take a step back, and we need to just lean on each other instead of trying to compete with each other. And I think that helps to go a long way. There's been many times in my career where I've just felt so alone, and I've actually managed to join a few groups with women like-minded, moms who work now, moms who don't work, and I think just the encouragement from that has really helped me to just focus and sometimes just take a step, and I think that's really important.
So how do women build trust with each other?
Yeah, that's a big one as well. I think trust in general, you have to know what your core base is, right? What are your core values? And I think if you need to stick to those in anything you're doing, competency in the workplace is number one, right? Whether you're a woman that you're trying to build trust with, or whether you're a male that you're trying to build trust with. If you don't know your area of expertise, no one's going to believe in you, right? So I think the other one is honesty and integrity. So I live by a very, very honest streak. Sometimes I've even been told, you're a little too honest, and I get that. So you have to learn how to approach those in a more subtle way that doesn't hurt people's feelings. And that brings me on to the empathy side, right? People sometimes want to drive results without actually thinking about the other person. And businesses put a lot of pressure on people, and women in particular are trying to juggle. They're trying to be a mom. Mom guilt is real, by the way. They're getting married, or they're not getting married, and they're moving country, all these things that just consume our lives. And I think again it's showing that person that you can be trusted, and that you are honest, and that you do have integrity in everything that you do. People will naturally want to be around you, and people will naturally want to be better around you as well, and for themselves, I think is really important.
I think on a normal demand day, I could see that these criteria and these elements can be easily fulfilled. But I think when you are working in events, as we all know, so full of pressure. So how do you maintain that and still the ability to navigate around very difficult conversation without breaking that trust? Yeah,
I think consistency is a real key. I think everybody gets under pressure. One of the things you also need to do is to be able to delegate, right? So good leaders are not leaders who hold everything and do everything themselves. Good leaders are the ones that empower the people below them, or to their peers, or even their colleagues above, right? And I think in an industry like meetings and events, and especially now with COVID and everything going on, it's so tough, and it's challenging, and it's demanding, and companies are wanting more for less. And I think if you just keep to your core competencies or your core values, and just again take time and take a step back, and not be afraid to just, I need help. And I think that's sometimes women's biggest issue, is that they feel that they're a failure if they put their hand up and say, hey, can you just help me here? And I think in events in particular, people want to do a good job naturally, but you can't do it all, right? And you've got to learn how to lean on people around you. There's no I in team. right? And one of the things I did as a leader was really empower the people that worked around me, peers, colleagues. I did a lot of mentoring because they know more than I do, right? My job was to help people with alleviate roadblocks, but then I held them accountable, right? If things didn't go well, it's like, put your hand up and just say, hey, I didn't do this and this is what happened. Be open and honest. So it brings us right back to that open and honesty, right?
Yeah.
Because if you know about it, you can help. And I think, again, that's where everybody can take a lesson in that, and especially women. It doesn't mean that you're a failure. Sometimes failure is a success. And I think those are some of the key learnings I've definitely had as well.
But what about people who are so passionate, you know, and they love what they do, like we all love what we do, and then often frustrations, you know, get in the way. So how do you balance that conversation without letting people know that, okay, your passion is just get too personal?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. I think there's a fine line with that, what sometimes you call is that trust and blind loyalty, right?
Yeah.
Some people are naturally team players, and I think some people aren't. And I think if you're managing some of these, what you would classify as difficult people, you have to approach it in a sort of two ways, right? One can be around, is this an emotional relationship or is this a relationship that I have to have? And I think when you start, and these were some of the things I've learned along some of these groups that I've joined as well, where women are supporting each other, right? And I was able to kind of categorize and say, oh wow, this person fits into that. I actually have no emotional attachment to that, so I'm going to approach it in this way. This person in particular, I have to work with every day, but they're difficult because they want things done in a certain way. They're not building trust within the team, which is then causing conflict. And this happens with everybody, right? But they deliver. Their results are there. So how do you manage that? And I think this is where the honesty comes in. I think number one, you need to accept that there's an issue, and you need to be able to talk to that person and let them talk to you. Listen. I think sometimes we go into meetings and we end up talking more than listening, and you're not actually understanding what this person is and how they drive. Some of the good things is trying to understand their personality, right? Why are they an individual contributor, as I would say, versus a team player? And then maybe you need to fit that person into a different role because sometimes it just doesn't work. And you need to look at the broader and the bigger picture and be able to make some decisions around that and tap into what those people's strengths are in order for the harmonious flow of the team, right? Because I know in the industry, and especially meetings and events, when you have somebody that's kind of bulldozing, and especially in Singapore where people don't like to confront, it's tough, right? And I think as a woman leader, you need to be able to come in and have those conversations in a relevant, understanding and empathetic way to be able to harness that person's skills in the right way.
Yeah, I definitely love your point, because the consistency, the clarity in communication, and the how to say, as a leader, you're not always preferring those who are performing.
Correct.
You know, it's a true sense of balance. So there is no preference. So I think to build trust is to be able to communicate and show it that way.
Yep.
You know, how you manage the team and so forth. So what about people who have broken trust?
Yeah.
You know, how do they, because you know, we all have our weak moments, right? We all do things that is out of character at times due to pressure or stress. So how can they rebuild their trust, or is a definitely a shut door moment for you?
Yeah, so I think every situation is going to be different. I think when trust betrayal happens, it's an emotion and it's almost like a loss, right? So you have to again acknowledge that this has happened, and I think you need to attack it or address it rather than attack it straight away. Don't let it fester.
Yeah, as in the person whose trust is broken,
Correct.
need to address it immediately so
Correct.
that the other person knows that the
Correct.
trust is broken.
Yeah, I think the longer you leave things, and it's that raise hand thing, right? You know that you've done something, and especially if it's yourself that has done that. If you know you've betrayed that trust, and it's not an easy thing, but you have to confront it, because you have to show the person that you're willing to listen to why they feel that way, because they're angry and they're really annoyed, and they're probably going to talk about you to other people, which could be damaging to the career and your repertoire that you've spent 12, 20, whatever, how many years to build up, right? They may have a stronger network on the ground than what you maybe think they do, right? So you've always got to remember that things can come around, and you've always got to remember that you should never break bridges. So I've been in a situation like that, which everybody has weak moments and everybody has, it's never perfect. And as long as you're learning from that, but I had to bring the person in, and I had to literally just sit there. I had a mediator in the room so that they felt comfortable.
Great suggestion.
Yeah. And I had to sit there and have this person pretty much personally attack me with facts. And I could not deny the fact, because I did it, right? And it was a big lesson for myself. And I think that's why today I stick to those core values, because I never want to make somebody feel like that again. And that person, it took a while, I won't lie, but we eventually got back to where we were. I don't think it ever gets 100%, but it gets to 80. An 80-20, I think you can live with, right? So I think it's just being courageous enough to just own it, because life is tough and life is challenging, and no one is perfect.
Thank you so much for sharing that case study, I would say, or that experience.
Awful time, but I look back and reflect on that quite often.
It must have been
actually.
so confronting.
Honestly, it was awful.
But were you aware though?
Yes.
Were you aware though? God, yes, I definitely do that. Or were you aware at the point of doing it as well?
I was aware, and I think it was just an emotional lapse of my career. It was a challenging time. Personally, I won't go into details. The person obviously reported what had happened, and my boss then said, we're going to do this, we're going to have and I said, bring in a mediator, please, because there's emotion. It's an emotional relationship. It's not one that you just have to do, right? It's an emotional relationship. The person was reporting into me at that time, and I guess that's why I'm such a, I pride myself on my team leadership today because of that.
Great.
And I probably cried afterwards, and I'm not much of a crier, but I think the person felt thankful because I didn't shy away from it. I didn't try cover it up. I didn't try blame him. I just put my hands up and accepted that I made a mistake.
Wow.
I know.
Big on you. Because more often than not, they will label it as bullying.
Correct.
And they will go, oh my God, Kate, I've been bullied by you. And I think as a person, to hear those words, to hear those labels on yourself, where you take a lot of pride in your work and your professionalism, is shocking, isn't it?
Correct. Yeah. And I think when you actually just let yourself be a little bit vulnerable, it helps you also to reflect and realize, and look, not everybody's going to be okay, and some people just want to trip you up, and that's just the nature of the beast.
Yeah.
But I think if you can, again, keep to your core values and just be willing to accept that sometimes you have done something wrong, but also at the same time, when you know you haven't, be gracious about that. You don't have to sing from the rooftops and say, I didn't do that. You can just say, okay, so explain to me, why do you feel that this way? And why do you feel I've broken your trust? Listen. Listen is a very, very, very important thing that I've learned at my career at MSD, right? Because often than not, you walk into a room and you've got a 10-page presentation and you've spent 2 weeks doing it, and you go in and you have half an hour with a senior leader and you walk out and you go, oh, that went well, but you haven't asked one question, right? You haven't asked them what exactly it is you need from me. So I think times are changing. Change is the only constant, which is what I've always said to my team. And you've just got to always evolve.
Yeah.
Right.
And listening will save the day. To be
Listening
honest.
always saves the day.
Yeah. I love that. I absolutely love that lesson. Thank you so much, Kate.